back at that cute kitty, and now we descend into the bedroom because it's too cold. So to look at this or whatever. All right, so oh shit, that poor baby lamb. All right, I gotta close this door. Get it closed. Shit, I don't think that worked. All right, anyway, so we're talking about a very small book, but perhaps it's condensed with good shit. I'm most of the way through. I'm on like page 70, 80 something. Let's see what Alright, so anyway, this book is called The Painted Word by Tom Wolfe. I should have looked at his other work. It says he wrote the right stuff. Is this the same guy who wrote The Bonfire of the Vanities or something? Or Vanity Fair? Anyway, it don't matter. I don't do research. I just say whatever. Alright, but The Painted Word. I don't know. I was wondering if this is a reference. So there's another book called The Painted Bird, which I read back in like 2020. I was living in Utah at the time. But The Painted Bird, that's by Jerry Kaczynski, and I was wondering if that's supposed to be a reference. Down with Kulturberg, down with the guru critics. Alright, so this is actually, oh yeah, I gotta do the thing where I get a shot of my face like this. Yeah, beautiful. Yes, it's a fucking messes in there. Alright, so anyway, this is the Tom Wolfe's The Painted Painted Word. This is a good follow-up because if you've seen, of course you want to watch this, my book, Greg Huffman book reports anyway, but if you did, this is a follow-up to, I read an art book, and my gimmick is kind of like I don't finish the book, or like I finish the book, but I try to do the book report before I finish it, just so I'm kind of like in the midst of things and you get an idea of how I feel about it. Before it finishes, so it's not like, it's just kind of like, it's my, fuck it, I don't know, work it out, man, and my brain is like, chugging up to like 90% of the rail, I'm just like, at the end, just cutting off, which is fitting, because of this, maybe that's what I'm probably going to say it like that, but anyway, inevitably, at the end of every art book, you get to the modern art section. Now, I'm not a complete hater of modern art. There are modern artists I do like, and I like expressionism and the abstract. But kind of the way I think about art... Oh, shit. Poor Millie's upset. Hopefully she doesn't get upset the whole way through. I'm going to try to do this. And I don't want to lose my train of thought anyway. The way I kind of see art is like it got up to like with Jacques Louis David, and it reached the height of it, whatever it could reach was naturalism. It was like Giotto, I think, that fucking came out with perspective, the 3D perspective. And then anyway, once you had like daguerreotypes and shit, late 1800s, you couldn't really go any higher than that. You were just like, all right, this is it. So in a way, art, that was the zenith of really, like, games are going through that now. I feel like video games, which is the art form I'm interested in. It also makes me think of like when I'm doing this art. Maybe I shouldn't get to this part yet, but I listened to this wrestling commentator named Jim Cornette. That's one of my favorite podcasts, is the Cornette Experience, and he has this guy like Kenny Omega and the fucking Young Bucks who he hates, and it makes me think of like art. Like, what is that? Is like that the thing with art is like the people who are on like the downslope of, all right, now pro wrestling hit its glory days and art hit its fucking zenith, and now on the way down, when you have to just fucking do this experimental shit, like or you're gonna get the artists that it's like you're gonna get these types that the old artists hate. I don't know. I do like Orange Cassidy, even though Jim Cornette hates him. Orange Cassidy's pro as hell. Dude, how does he do that lazy thumbs? Like, anyway, god damn it. I gotta get the good thing. So anyway, on the way down, you have I should listen. I was thinking about listing off all of them earlier. We have like the Impressionists, I don't know. I mean, I like most of them, but there gets to a point, the Impressionism, Post-Impressionism, then you get like Abstract Expressionism, and then eventually you get to this art though that's so just, it's almost like it's testing like Marcel Duchamp and the fucking Mark Rothko, and then there's it just gets to the point where it's like, is it really art? You're testing. It's almost like these artists are deliberately testing the bounds. They're more like philosophizing on art rather than actually trying to make great art. Because it's, who is really going to be like, my favorite piece of art is this by Mark Rothko, this black box of nothingness. Like, who's going to say that that's their favorite painting, and what do they really get out of it? I think it capitalizes when you get to the point, and that's kind of related to this book now, after I was talking about art, but he talks about like the ridiculousness. I'm going to show a page where he quotes about like theory. This art critic in the opening pages, like page 8, he talks about how this artist like, all right, this is a good painting, whatever, but it has no theory. And it's like, what the fuck? It's just art, man. It's like, if you're getting to the point where you need theory, like, you're missing the point. You're getting too meta to the point that you're losing your audience. That's what Jim Cornette talks about in regards to like pro wrestling. It's like you're making these wrestling matches for people who are intrigued about how wrestling matches are made and not the actual casual viewer. And maybe that's what they're doing for art here, is they're being so fucking meta and appealing to like the most, you know. I got a cat here again. I think she made a cameo in an old video. This is Star Cat. She's very sweet. You're cute. She's very needy today. Sweet Star Cat. What do you think of art? You hate de Kooning, don't you? Yes, you hate him. You hate him so much. You hated de Kooning. I just. Shit, no one else. But anyway, yeah, you get to that point where the people aren't making this shit for the casual viewer. You're like, you know, you got everyone's got their head up their ass, only their own shit. So anyway. Now I'm trying to figure out. All right, let's just go into before I go off on every. All right, there is also this thing about where I watched. Who's that? Jacob Geller. There's a YouTuber named Jacob Geller who's like, you know, are you a fucking fascist for not liking modern art? And then, yeah, I don't like that types either, because they're saying like, oh, you're not really a fascist, but are you kind of a fascist, because fascists fucking hated. You know, they viewed them as Dada ever after as degenerates. I think that's kind of a bullshit take, because it's not about whether you like it or not. It's the fact that those people, Nazis and all that, fascist types, are suppressing that kind of art. I fully, you know, eagerly hope, you know, what's that, the attributed quote to Voltaire is, you know, regardless of what you say, I may hate it, but I'll fight to the death for your right to, you know, express yourself. And that's how I feel about any kind of art. I'm glad they're making these kinds of arts, but they're also really awful. A lot of them are. Not all. Some of these artists do make art. I don't like, whether I like it or not. I recognize that took some genuine skill, and you're actually expressing yourself and not just expressing yourself to philosophize towards a fucking elite crowd that is like, what is this art, or is this a new thing, or just some trendy, fuck you statement. Like, if you look up Tracy, I think her name is Tracy Emin or Tracy Emin. She does, like, in the late 90s, this art project. It's called My Bed. And it was just like a messy bed. And then there's this whole case of like art being thrown away because it looks like trash. I'm like, if it looks like I just don't get it. Like, what is your incentive other than you're just fucking around, and you're just like, you're in this art community that finds us amusing, but that, alright, maybe it is art, whether it's art or not, it's not necessarily great art. It's not like, who is it really appealing to? Who's going to say this is, I look at this and I found great meaning in it? I just don't see it. I don't know. I think it appeals to this thing in your brain called apophenia. It's like, you don't want to apply, like, if every art just appeals to everyone, then it doesn't feel special. But on the flip side of that, in other words, you don't want to make meaningless art, but if the meaning has, like, you're like, oh, it's because you haven't thought this through. And some guy responded, I posted about this book before I had really got into it on this literature group, and he's like, oh, I don't like it when people, this is specifically, he says about this guy, I don't know which art he likes, but he said he likes a lot of maudlin, very old school, boring art, and he's going off on people, because it's deeper and requires deeper thinking. But I think what it is, it's not so much deeper thinking with this art is the apophenia. It's like you're applying meaning. Like, I was in some of the art books, they'd be like, oh, it'd be like this piece makes you think of what our place in the universe is. And I remember seeing that. I think I went to like Oklahoma City. I saw this art piece, and it was like, oh, this art piece is like you're trying to figure out what it is. It wasn't like awful or anything. I don't remember. Maybe it was, but it was like, oh, this makes you think about our place and technology in the world. I'm like, it doesn't make me think that though. It's like that's bullshit. You're just not comfortable saying. You're not comfortable with your ostensible, aesthetic of the art, and you're trying to find a deeper meaning when not everything has to be profound. It's like the profoundest thing is that nothing is really profound. That's the most profound statement you can make, really, is that when you try to say you're having this deep, because even with meaning, it's like if you try to say our grand place, you have this grand philosophy. Really, what's left to philosophize about are the little specifics you can analyze. Like take these very specific things, and find little things people haven't found before. But if you have this grand sweeping meaning, you want this grand meaning for everyone. That's already done and gone, man. It's like you've already had philosophers that have dug that ditch just as deep as it'll go. And you're not going to find that with a fucking, mother of, fucking Virgin Mary drawn with shit, It's you're not going to, there's no meaning. Not that there's, I can't really imagine most people that thought happening naturally without you priming them for it, in other words. But Tracy Emin, not just that she did the book, but she has these little Cy Twombly scribbles of, just these stick figures, like this woman is laying down and she's like dripping shit out or something. I'm like, I'm not offended by this art, I'm not a fucking old school Puritan. But then there's these new school Puritans that push this as a type of art. It's all so frustrating. Shit, where's my, I do need to, I'm going to take a little pause, and so I want to get reoriented, because otherwise I'll just ramble. Give me one moment. Alright, I didn't really, fully get, how do you say, immersed or whatever, but I do kind of want to get into the specifics of what I learned from this book. In this book, he says the pop art kind of became chic in the 1920s. And then one thing about pop art, whenever I look at it, it doesn't say the same guy he says. Usually it says, just like I did the Big Splash or whatever, not Keith Haring, or it'll say, who else does it say? Shit, now I should look this up for going back. Usually at the beginning of pop art, it doesn't say what this guy says, which is, it started in, no, is it whatever? Oh, it's at the not Leo, he does mention Leo Kleinberg, but there's a specific gallery, God damn it, I have it in my notes, but, Leo Castanelli, or something. He says Jasper Johns in 1956 was actually, maybe that's not exactly when pop art started, but that's when the era began, because I think the year previous, I'm trying to remember his name, it was 1955 when the actual term pop art was founded. And apparently pop art, it was supposed to be a response, because it was a response to abstract expressionism. So I watched a Vox video like a year ago, maybe more, where they talked about why is Jackson Pollock so famous, and it has to do with this guy named Clement Greenberg. Well, they didn't, I think they just mentioned him in passing, but this book really gets into the depth of Clement Greenberg, which is what so far I find the most fascinating part of this, is all the interculture works. Because Clement Greenberg, he was after this idea of purity, of this flatness, and so that's, I don't know, I don't want to go on another tangent, but he was after this flatness. He wanted to see flatness, so he saw in Jackson Pollock his fucking, what do you call it, a muse? I don't know if that's the way to put it. Your fucking guy that's going to lead you to the promised land of this concept of flatness. You want your fucking drawings flat. And then he talks to Louis, what the fuck is his goddamn name? Louis something, goddamn it. Don't matter, whatever. But he does these little color, he says that, like they look like watery, just diluted watery marks and shit. God, I'm like all over now. I wish I could remember saying. But anyway, so in came this guy named Harold Rosenberg. he almost was like started this feud. Apparently, this guy, because he was talking about action paintings. I'm gonna sit up a little bit. So he he popularized this whole phrase called action painting, and apparently this pissed off Clement Greenberg, because it was he has this new arch rival, because he's like, he wants to be the big guy, the big important critic in town. He's introducing Jackson Pollock to the world and all that shit. Oh yeah, and in this book somebody mentioned boho dance. So to bring it back to philosophy, he makes it seem like Clement Greenberg was like a Hegelian, like a follower of G.W. Hegel, because Hegel, also one of his disciples, not specifically trained by Hegel, but very influenced by his ideas, was Karl Marx, because his whole idea of the economics will inevitably drive us to communism. That comes from Hegel. Without Hegel, you don't have this zeitgeist, this whole thesis, antithesis and synthesis of the two ideas coming together, which is how we get, like, that's the ultimate path. Hegel is like, you have this destiny, time is all leading us to this grand moment, and that's kind of what seems to be what Clement Greenberg is saying, is we're all going towards flatness, or this, maybe that's, I'm trying to say if that's the way to put it. But essentially, he's saying, he seems to be implying that he's a Hegelian, and I find people influenced by Hegel very interesting. Just the whole synthesis of ideas. This is where society is inevitably gonna go with this, field or whatever. Is there anything else I need to? God damn it. Yeah, I don't know. Right there. Alright, I think I'm just going to show you some passages from the book now. Damn it, cat. Yeah, this is a fellow definitely like all over the place in my delivery, but it's hard to really... Alright, I'm just going to get there. Alright, this seems to be kind of the impetus for the whole book. He's reading about a review. Hilton Kramer, this is he a Times writer, when I was jerked away by the following. Realism does not lack its partisans, but it does rather conspicuously lack a persuasive theory. And given the nature of our intellectual commerce, I gotta scratch my nose, huh? Of our no, goddamn it, focus. Not just me, but also this camera. Why is this camera not focusing? Dude, what the fuck? Okay. Given the nature of our intellectual commerce with works of art, now I gotta scratch a goddamn can. Probably this cat, with works of art, to lack a persuasive theory is to lack something crucial. The means by which our experience of individual works is joined to our understanding of the values of signify. Now you may say, my God, man, you woke up over that. You forsook your blissful coma over a mere swell in the sea of words. But I knew what I was looking at. I realized that without making the slightest effort, I had come upon one of those utterances in search of which psychoanalysis and State Department monitors of the Moscow or Belgrade press are willing to endure a lifetime of tedium, namely the seemingly innocuous obiter dicta, the words in passing that give the game away. Blah, blah, blah. Looking at a painting, to lack a persuasive theory is to lack something crucial, something helpful, enriching, or extremely valuable. No, the word was crucial. In short, frankly, these days, without a theory to go with, I can't see a painting. See, I can't see a painting. That's the whole part, the thing he's trying to latch on to. It's like these critics want something more than just this fucking, beautiful painting. And here's something, throughout the book, there's also these little black and white little paintings. So that's kind of cool. Here's where I actually list some of the painters he has problems with. Thousands of Pollocks, de Koonings, Newmans, Nolans, Rothkos. Yeah, Rothko for sure. I have an issue with, but Rauschenberg's, Judd's I'm not sure he's referring to. I have to look him up. Jones's, Olitskis, Lewis's. I think that's what I was thinking of. So I can't remember the rest of it. Stills, Franz Klein's, Frankenthaler's, Kelly's, blah, 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 and Frank Stella's. And these are kind of an example of the painters who just... I don't know, I'm just going to release my mind over it. And I want to point this. I can tell on this one, my mind isn't very focused, so this probably won't be one of my better book reviews or book reports, but like I said, it doesn't seem to matter as no one watches them anyway, so with no audience, who cares? Okay. But it'll be at least nice little inner workings of how my fucking brain just combobulates everything. Because I just have like these just fucking, just all kinds of just thoughts hitting me like, which direction do I go? And it's really hard to just focus my thinking sometimes. That's why it's better when I write. I like to write, but probably do need practice of this anyway, to just focus my mind, and I'm not doing a very good job today, but I'll still carry on, and this will be the book report. It'll be intriguing. Alright, let's go to the next passage. All right. Here he talks about the whole Kulturberg, he talks about Greenberg and Rosenberg. He says that's to get their astounding success, that they were not like the uptown critics. They were not mere critics, they spoke as the voice of Bohemia. Naturally, Le Monde listened. So that's how they got in, as they were of the people. And here's the other thing with purity. You might talk about the cynical, and flatness might be in there somewhere. Oh, just as I was recording. So I get it. Just here's Jackson Pollock here, the fucking swine. Uncouth miscue. All this whole entire page is fascinating, so I'm just gonna read it. See, inflect. Nobody was immune to theory any longer. Pollock would say things like, Cezanne didn't create theories, they're after the fact. He was the only whistling Dixie. The fact was that theories, Greenberg's, about Pollock were beginning to affect Pollock. Greenberg hadn't created Pollock's reputation, but he was its curator, custodian, breast polisher, and repairman, and he was terrific at it. With each new article, Greenberg edged Pollock's status a little higher, from among the strongest American abstract artists ever to the strongest painter of his generation in America, to the most powerful painter in contemporary America, to a neck-and-neck competition with John Marin for the title of the greatest American painter of the 20th century, to the few remaining distance, uptown or downtown, who still pulled long faces and said Pollock's work looked terribly muddy or chaotic or simply ugly. Greenberg had a marvelous comeback. But of course, all profoundly original art looks ugly at first. I want to repeat this because I did see this quote the other day looking up quotes by Greenberg. All profoundly original art looks ugly at first, and that's his justification. Well, yes, that's right. In an age of avant-gardism, when practically everybody in Kulturberg could remember some new ism which he hadn't gotten at first, this Greenberg dictum seemed to be a pivotal insight of modernism. The golden apicue to collectors, curators, and even some dealers. New work that looked genuinely ugly began to take on a strange new glow. You primed them for it. In the event, if Greenberg was right about Pollock's status in the world of art, and Pollock, I'm going to read this next one because there's some stuff on here if I can remember. Wasn't arguing. So look at this part. I like this. He started pushing his Pollock in the direction. More foolishness, I think that means sooty. More overall evenness, but fewer gaping holes. This is interesting right here. Greenberg thought Pollock sometimes left gaping holes and integrated. Greenberg took to growing by Pollock's studio, giving on-the-spot critiques. That's important, I think, to me. Greenberg took to going by Pollock's studio and giving on-the-spot critiques. It actually influenced. And there's something at the bottom on it. Could never imagine. Never stop. One night, this is a funny anecdote to end on. One night here, I was drunk at Peggy Guggenheim's house during a party for a lot of swell people. So he takes off his clothes in another room and comes walking into the living room, stark naked. Speaking of walking into a room, not naked though, thankfully, in this case, for recording purposes. Just cute little Millie there. Alright, start naked. I'm finishing up. And urinates in the fireplace. My God, crazy drunk bastard. And we're ending here. She's reading very cute. Hey Millie, you want to sign off on my video with me?
Scared the hell out of me. She's disappeared.
You're cute, Millie. She's adorable.
I find you.
You're cute, Millie Pooh.
I lost you. Oh my God.
And that's the talk for this book.